What's up, 444? We are back for the DFS MVP podcast, week 6, to break down the main slate for tournaments. I'm Neil Orfield here with Davis Maddock and Pat Carrain. How are you guys doing today? Davis, how you doing?
You know, this happens to me every year, Neil. I get sick. Like this week, like week 6 or week 7, every year, without fail. It sucks. You grind through it for a week. So everyone, you're gonna have to stick with me. I sound very nasally. More nasally and more scratchy than you thought possible for my already very nasally and very scratchy voice. It's gonna be a lot easier to do. It's gonna be a lot easier to do the Mahomes impersonation this week.
All right, well, you'll have to do it for us. No Chiefs this week. They're on bye, right? So
yeah, thank God. Thank God. So that'll save me $50 on a red zone lineup that has Mahomes in it for no reason.
This is Davis, as I recall, this is a tough
Drake
week.
May in it, right? So
yeah, right. Oh yeah. So tough week for Davis because you have Justin Jefferson on bye. You have all of your Chiefs. I mean, they're all hurt anyway, but the Chiefs are on bye. I don't know if you have Rams or Dolphins, but I know Jefferson and the Chiefs are two of your bigger.
A-Chain, Cooper Kupp. It's not great, Neil.
Yeah,
it's really
not the best.
My advance rate.
I loved your rant, by the way.
My advance rate was already not looking that good. So I don't love what having my most drafted players all just like literally not even having an opportunity to score points is going to do for me.
That's rough. Meanwhile, Pat getting Drake May starting for the Patriots.
Yeah,
Jalen Warren
Pat's
potentially
so
back. How are you feeling, Pat?
I'm feeling good. It's starting to my best ball bags. I do a lot better in tournaments that started in week 9. I think week 9 through 14, I would have just a killer advance right there, but. Things are turnarounds with some of my guys actually getting on the field, which we do like. Drake May, we'll see. This game's probably going to be pretty ugly for the most part, but I'm excited that I think this game sort of unlocks him getting the Jaguars in week 7. I don't know if they would have, since they're going to London for that game, would have had him get his first start with a weird week of preparation going to London. So I'm just excited. I'm honestly excited just to have him out there and then have him get a nice matchup next week.
I almost wrote up Drake May as a play in tournaments in my like game by game breakdown. Like he doesn't project well at all. There's nothing really indicating, but like just from a no ball standpoint, I don't know if that really qualifies, but really good rookie quarterback coming into his first game. We don't really know. Like maybe he can totally revive the offense. Probably not likely this game, but I at least thought about it. Do you think either of you guys? I guess we'll go.
Caleb
to that
Williams 97 passing yards and Caleb Williams first start. That's the bar.
I think so. I think he's got that.
The Texans are dealing with some injuries as well, so on defense. So I think he can. Yeah.
Well, I guess we can.
I was talking about sacrilegious. He took a bunch of overs on his passing yardage props. Those were like 150.
I did too.
That I think is probably the way to play Drake May. If you're Drake May slappy as opposed to DFS,
I don't really need to be more financially invested in Drake May at this stage, honestly, but at least it will be.
But we always could be.
We could be.
Maybe you do need to be. Maybe this is how you get back on all of your injuries and best balls. You just keep invested in Drake May, the one thing that is going well for you. No injuries so far there. Maybe. No Ramondre Stevenson this week. New offense. Totally new offense for the Patriots. All right, we're going to go game by game, so we'll get to that game when we get there. We also just got news. So the first game we're going to look at, and if you are watching and you want to follow along, my tournament game by game breakdown is posted at 4for4. So we're going to be going in the order of my article. If you want to follow along, the first game is going to be Tampa Bay Buccaneers at New Orleans Saints. We just got the news that Rachaad White is doubtful for this game. So that makes things kind of interesting. That was not the case when I wrote this up. So I might have to think about whether Bucky Irving comes into play here. But the Bucs have an implied team total of 22.25. That's tied for 12th best on the week. The Saints, 19 implied team total, 24th out of 28 teams on the slate. What are we doing with this game? Pat, I'll start with you. What's your level of interest in the Bucs or the Saints?
Well, I mean, I think we probably should talk about Spencer Rattler being 4,000 and a starting quarterback. Like that seems like it's a thing we could do if we wanted. And you got Shaheed and Chris Godwin, I think are somewhat interesting. Like you could single stack Rattler. He doesn't just have to be naked, I think. So he's definitely interesting. And then Bucky Irving. I mean, if Bucky Irving has this backfield to himself, I'm definitely interested in him at 5,400.
I think he's like the play of the slate, just like because running back's not that strong this week. It's like any week that Titans Tony Pollard is the number one clear lock play, that probably means there's some fragility built into the position. Or actually, much better rule of thumb. Anytime Bijan Robinson is chalk, that means the position is very fragile. It just means there's something fragile going on.
Bijan Robinson with a broken hamstring.
Yeah. So if Rachaad White does not play, which we'll know because it's a noon game, which is nice, I would say Bucky becomes. Have we even? I guess we had a free. Jordan Mason was 6,000 the first week, right? Week 2. So it'll be our second like free square play of the year. And I would think Bucky, because the thing with him is the other guys they have on the roster, Sean Tucker and I'm forgetting the name of the other guy. I'm not even sure.
It's not Chase Edmonds anymore, right?
It's not Chase Edmonds anymore. They're not third down backs. So what you'd worry about with an injury fill and running back is that what happened to Akers, right? Where it's like Dare ends up playing all the long down and distance stuff. But that would almost be the reverse. It would be like Sean Tucker would maybe take 6 carries away, but wouldn't take any of the passing downs away.
Although I could see just any old veteran getting passing blocking work, because that is the one thing with Bucky is he was not a good pass blocker in college, and he's a rookie. So that I do think that's actually a concern still. It doesn't really matter who it is. It's probably a better pass blocker.
I don't even know if they have one, Corinne. I believe their practice squad call up would be DJ Williams, who is an undrafted free agent rookie. So, actually, this is God, I know too much football, man. I might need to unplug. So what they actually would do is they would play Kieft as the third down back, the same way the Bengals played Drew Sample as the third down back for the Bengals. I might need to log off. I might.
Yeah, that's pretty sick, man.
Just even knowing that is honestly is a bit annoying.
Have you guys discovered the new New York Times sports game? You know, they do it's like Wordle. They have these games where you have to like match different things. They have a new one, or at least new to me as of this week, where they give you like I guess 16 different like words, names, whatever, and then you have to like group them, find like what are the 4 different groups. It's really fun. So for somebody who has an encyclopedic
immaculate grid,
it's not that. It's a similar. I mean, it's a game, I guess. So not entirely similar, because they give you the words / names.
Let me tell you,
and
the
then
last thing I need is another goddamn game on my
yeah, I was gonna say it's perfect for you with your
log off
because you have that. That is true. Well, just put it to use is what I'm saying. You've got this encyclopedic knowledge. This is one way that you can use it. Just beat the New York Times every week. Brag to your friends about how you did in the New York Times game. Just throwing that out there for you.
More importantly, we should do the Rattler thing.
Yeah.
So Rattler is very unlike a quarterback who would normally be here. Like, this is not like Ryan Nassib randomly getting a start at $4,000. Sam Ehlinger for the Colts. Remember Sam Ehlinger week? He was not that long ago, 3 years ago, was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And basically, he kind of has like a bad attitude, really is what it is. And he doesn't really like to be coached or listen to his coaches. But he does he's like
sounds like Dennis Allen's gonna love him.
Right.
The thing is, you know, they say this, he can make all the throws. I'm kind of interested.
Yeah. I'm kind of interested too. I mean, when I wrote him up, I was back in April, I was like kind of intrigued by him. And I didn't think he would fall as late as he fell in the draft. And he frankly probably should not have.
No.
He's more talented. Like, it's so weird to me that there was that big of a gap between, Bo Nix and then all the way down to Rattler in the 4th. But I was, he is a pocket passer, but he is not a statue. He's capable throwing in the middle of the field.
16 rushing touchdowns. They used to like run like some zone option stuff with him at Oklahoma. He was for the uninitiated. He was the quarterback that Caleb Williams took over for as a freshman at Oklahoma.
Yeah, he had a long career, right? He played 5 years.
Well, he had to transfer, because basically,
right.
They were like, "See you, buddy."
Yeah, but I mean, we know the Saints. They're running a lot of play action, and they're running a lot, so they're going to be picking their spots with Rattler. But I think at 4,000, like, cool, pick your spots, but make those spots big plays, and I think we're good to go.
So that's the issue, is the Saints don't want to throw. They are 32 out of 32 in PROE. They just want to run.
They want to run. Yeah.
4,000 min priced. I mean, that's the only reason we even really need to talk about him, is because you don't really get min price starting quarterbacks all that often.
Ever.
Yeah. I still think probably not the cash game quarterback. This is a tournament show, but I
Well,
thought about that because he's 4,000 maybe, but
so Neil, in a way, he's almost better for cash because I don't think he really can get 25. Like I just
that's
don't
kind
think
of what I was thinking. Yeah.
they wouldn't let him throw enough, but he can definitely get 15. This happened last year with Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell started, he was 4,000, and he was the cash game quarterback. Now, that was like a different environment. It was like Tyreek Hill on the slate anyways, but it's not going to be surprising to me if he is the most owned cash game quarterback, and I might play him. I really don't know yet. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I haven't figured out exactly what I'm doing in cash either. But
would you stack him with Shaheed? Because Shaheed's 5,600, and you're kind of betting on the big play.
Did you hear his quote, Pat?
Olave.
No. That was really good.
The Olave quote? Yeah.
So he did a press conference, and they were like, kind of what's your plan? And he's like, well, I'm going to look where, I think he said, like, I'm going to find where 12 is, and I'm going to throw the ball there.
That seems like a good plan.
Seems like a good plan, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone should tell Derek Carr. Someone should tell Derek Carr.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like that's the only reason that I'm thinking about playing Olave here. Like I almost didn't even write him out, but Rattler, the quote, he's a key point to get Olave. Key point is getting Olave the ball. Sort of interesting there if we think that he's going to be capable of getting Olave the ball. This is honestly one of the toughest games. We're starting, I think, with at least the Saints side, one of the toughest spots on the slate. Like, do we believe that Spencer Rattler is good enough to get Shaheed and or Olave to slate winning scores?
Probably no. I think this is gonna it's fun to think about and it's fun to conjecture. He's probably gonna look more like Bo Nix than Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, that seems pretty likely. Speaking of the rushing game work for Rattler, so I always struggle with these college stats because they include sacks in the yardage totals.
Right. He can move. He's not a runner. He's not like Jared Goff, but he's not like, to even say he's like Mahomes level of mobility probably would even be overstating it. Like
16 rushing touchdowns though in college.
But it's very easy to score rushing touchdowns in college. Like
okay.
He played in the Big 12 and like, it's like you're at the goal line, you fake the handoff to the running back, you walk in, you put the ball over the end zone. Like he can, he can move. I would be stunned if he had like a 27-yard rushing touchdown. Like that feels crazy.
All right. So maybe playable. What is our level of interest in tournaments in Spencer Rattler? Are we, Dave, think you're going to play any? Pat, do you think you're going to play any Spencer Rattler?
I'm open to it. And to the rushing stuff, I just pulled up PFF, which doesn't include the sacks.
Okay.
And so he said he had last year 371 rushing yards on 67 attempts, 219 the year before that, and then Oklahoma 128 and 280.
That sounds right about right. And I didn't. Yeah. I obviously watched more of him at Oklahoma when he was young, when he was like literally 18 and 19, than at South Carolina. But and Oklahoma's system also didn't prioritize running. Like they didn't want their quarterbacks to run then at that time.
Yeah, he can move. I mean, maybe it's like Jordan Love-ish.
That's probably better. I was searching for like a young guy, and like you don't think of Jordan Love as a guy who can run, but he had that 60-yard run in the playoffs. Right. Like, yeah, it's like that.
All right, so
I'm open-minded to it. I think, it's tough to say on Friday that I'm definitely going to play him or how exactly I would do it, but I think just the fact that he was a pretty intriguing prospect in that probably should go in the second or third round in the NFL draft balls, but then people were kind of like, whoa, that was strange that he fell that far. And, now ends up in a system that has done a pretty good job of getting efficiency out of limited dropbacks, which is not a bad spot to find yourself in as a fourth round rookie quarterback. So I'm definitely open-minded to playing him.
The thing is so the most appealing thing about him is his salary, right? Not his projection.
Fifth round. I keep saying fourth round. He was fifth round. It's crazy.
Something you could talk me into is what if you just do your Amon-Ra St. Brown CD team, but instead of trying to make Dak's salary work, you just swap him out with Rattler. Don't play Buck. Don't play Saint. You just do your game stack and you use it so that you don't have to play.
Well, why not play Bucky? You know.
Well, sure. I mean, I honestly like if Rashad White is out, I'm treating Bucky just like an uncorrelated piece.
He comes
like
preloaded.
He's just a 16-point projection that you just put in your lineup. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Bucky's going to look really good here.
I like that. I like kind of subbing out the quarterback with Rattler because he's so cheap.
Yeah, still correlating, like doing your game stacks, but then making it all work with the cheap quarterback. I think that makes some sense. We haven't talked about Alvin Kamara at all yet. To me, Alvin Kamara looks pretty good here. 90 of 126 running back carries for the Saints. 28 targets so far on the year.
Taysom's out. Kendre's not being activated.
Yeah.
By the way, Taysom being out is probably kind of sneaky good for Rattler.
Yes.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been drafting Taysom all week in BRs, thinking I was going to get some quarterback points. Yeah. If you want 28 rushes for 86 yards on the nose, now that could come with 3 touchdowns or it could come with 0 touchdowns. So it's a real dealer's choice there.
Also,
doesn't it also come with 4? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Rattler's not a check down guy. Rattler is not on 3rd and 11. Rattler would rather throw a pick than.
But aren't you looking at screens and maybe even like just like first reads, like just get Kamara the ball like 4 or 5 times?
Sure.
Game?
Yeah. I mean, Kamara, he will have 4 receptions more often than not. Yeah. I think Kamara's a good play. I'm not like, I think if I'm spending at a running back, I think I like Barkley more.
I do too.
Fair. Yeah. Okay. And then the other side, I mean, Bucky Irving clearly, Chris Godwin, I think, looks pretty good. Second on the Bucs in route participation at 77.9%, 39 targets on the year. Do you guys have any interest in Godwin, Evans? Kate Otten looks pretty good at like maybe the cash game, tight end, Baker Mayfield. Any interest in outside of Bucky Irving, any of these Bucs?
Godwin. Juju Smith-Schuster just went 7 from 130 against this defense.
Yeah, I think one thing I think about with the Bucs is that, they've got this really quick passing attack, 2.45 second time to throw for Baker Mayfield, tied with Andy Dalton for the fastest in the league. They're just like, they're trying to preemptively, make sure they don't get pressured. They're 26th in time to pressure. The pressure they're allowing is really quick. Baker Mayfield has a 30% pressure to sack rate. So they're just like, I don't think they feel confident in their ability to protect him, and they don't feel confident about what happens if pressure gets there. So they're just like getting the ball out, right? Well, the Saints have a pretty weak pass rush. They're 22nd in pass pressure rate. They're 25th in pass rush win rate, 29th in time to pressure. So in that situation, it was kind of like in the last game, I was like, this makes me a little bit more interested in Mike Evans. In games where I think they might have like an extra beat to throw, I'm a little bit more interested in Evans. I don't know that they'll be like as focused on just like getting the ball out hyper fast in this game. And to me, that's, where Chris Godwin is like really feasting is because of that game plan. Not that Godwin's not a good play, but I guess I don't view this as I would prefer Evans, except he's pretty expensive and I don't really want to play him. But I think this matchup is probably a slight boost to Evans compared to Godwin.
Do we care about the Marshawn Lattimore stuff? Kind of a rivalry there.
Mike Evans is going to score a touchdown, then he's going to get ejected.
Right. Yeah. So you only get 2 quarters of Evans.
So you only get 2 quarters.
The downside.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on this game?
Well, I guess if I'm just going to be chalk, I'm happy to fade that. I mean, if we think about what the play volume could be in this game, it could be like, especially Rashad White being out, like they might just like run the ball more with, they're not going to like maybe throw as much to the back. And so, you're looking at a Saints team that would love to drop back like 19 times. Let's just like get the running game going. Let's score 13 points and win. Like that sounds awesome to the Saints, right? So I'm going down to Otten, who has got a 15% targets per route run, has not been efficient, 0.95 yards per route run. He's running a lot of routes, but route volume could be pretty low here, if the Saints just like really commit to keeping things run heavy on their side.
Yeah, like that call. All right, we'll move on to the second game of the slate, which is Arizona Cardinals at Green Bay Packers. To me, one of the more fun games on the slate. Cardinals have an implied team total of 21 points. That's 18th out of 28 teams. Packers implied team total 26.5. That's tied for the 3rd best of the week. Davis, we can start with you on this one. Any interest in Cardinals, or I guess probably for this game, what's your level of interest in any Cardinals or Packers players?
Yeah, Kyler and McBride. Just like salary wise, I mean McBride's just a bigger part of the offense than Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm happy to retire my Marvin Harrison Jr. tout with 37 points in the first quarter against the Rams, and then just call it good there. They're just using him in a very confounding way. Like it seems like they just don't really quite, because he's like a possession wide receiver, but they're trying to use him like I don't know. Anyway, like they think he's Mike Evans, and really what he is he's like the final form of Greg Dortch. Like he's like the final evolution of Greg Dortch.
If Greg Dortch was how tall is Marvin Harrison?
What is that?
Is this that exact
physically?
No, but like being an incredibly good possession wide receiver is like so valuable in today's.
Are you
NFL.
saying he's Michael Pittman? Is he Michael Pittman?
You know what he is? He's like super Mike Thomas. He's like better than Mike Thomas could ever even dream of. But they're not using him that way. And then on the Green Bay side, it's like, well, you probably should just play Wicks on at least one team because you're going to be so pissed off if you were all in last week and he scores 2 touchdowns.
Well, what about Watson? Is Watson going to go?
Well, I've heard from a reliable source, his dad, that he might be able to play this week. Crane probably doesn't spend enough time online.
Yeah, he doesn't even know what you're talking about.
No, I've heard. I haven't seen this, but I've heard that. Yeah, his dad was.
So if Watson plays, obviously Wicks is totally unplayable. But
Right,
if he doesn't go, he probably is a literal all-time flop leg. Like,
oh yeah, I'm in. I'm in if Watson doesn't go, and I don't care if Dobbs goes because Dobbs is going to do his X thing. Like that doesn't matter. That doesn't really.
Those were the
Wicks.
snaps that Malik Heath and Bo Melton played last week.
Exactly.
And then Tucker Kraft is $4,800, but just might be the best tight end in fantasy. Like Tucker Kraft might just be Gronk. Like, you know, he is just gonna run like 90% of the routes on this. It's like, who stops this guy? Who stops Tucker Kraft, bro?
He's not actually getting targeted at that high of a rate. So
he's just scoring 75-yard touchdowns. When I saw that update, I went to the gym last week during the afternoon games. I was like, Pete inspired me to try and be a little bit healthy. Mm-hmm. Like, don't just sit on your couch for 9 hours. And I got the update on my phone that he scored a 75-yard touchdown, and I was like, can't be real. Can't possibly. I gotta see this.
I had him in a
Everyone
lineup.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great play.
Yeah.
But I wasn't playing him for 75-yard touchdown. Or whatever
I was playing him for 5 for 50.
Yeah.
I was playing him along with Dontavian Wicks was the problem.
Yeah.
Yes. And Bo Melton, in my case at least. So that did not go all that well. It looks like Christian Watson's still questionable as of this afternoon. I was thinking Christian Watson was already out, but I guess I listened to the doctor too much instead of the dad there. But it sounds like Christian Watson still questionable. Romeo Doubs is back. Like I think he's off the injury report, so Romeo Doubs is a go. So I guess we have to monitor Christian Watson to see if we can play Dontavian Wicks. But I'll definitely be interested in Dontavian Wicks if Christian Watson is out.
Wicks is definitely interesting if Watson is out.
Yeah. Tucker Kraft, I think Tucker Kraft is a phenomenal play. Also coming in at like 5% ownership last I checked, just not getting much ownership. So I like that call out quite a bit. Yeah. Is this Cardinals defense better than I think it is? I feel like I keep on taking teams.
They're terrible. So what happens, Neil, is the Cardinals, when they get behind by 10, they have no answers because their whole offense is predicated on the defense being concerned about the run. So then other teams just run the ball against them.
Yeah.
Like they just
run funnel.
Because they have well, I don't even know. Their secondary is probably equally bad. Like we saw this against the 49ers.
I think the secondary is worse.
Yeah, they're both terrible.
So they don't have a pass rush.
What we actually need
31st in pressure rate. They stink.
We need the Cardinals to get defense to get a pick 6, and then we're like a fantasy bonanza. That would be like Jordan Love throws a bad pick 6, and then we are off to the races.
Would love that. Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
I keep targeting passing games against the Cardinals, and they keep failing me. So I'm just like, maybe I should stop doing this. They seem to be better, but
it's all interconnected.
Cardinals opponents have a 55% pass rate, which is pretty low, minus 5% pass rate over expected, and are shifting 2% to the run in PROE against them. So they do pop up as a run funnel. And then the weird thing about the Packers is that obviously with Malik Willis, they were super run heavy. But if you look at their pass rate over expected on first down in the 3 games with Love, minus 16% against the Eagles, minus 15% against the Vikings, and minus 7% against the Rams, and that was with a -6% PROE overall. They were balanced in the other two games. They've been pretty conservative. So conservative offense, getting a run funnel defense. I actually think Josh Jacobs is pretty interesting here. I think that he could kind of be the focal point of this game plan.
He's getting some ownership is the only unfortunate thing. I agree with you. Josh Jacobs looks like a great play to me. The only concern being, I think he's actually getting more ownership than like any of the pass catchers, which is probably should. But yeah, I think I agree with you. It looks like a really strong play. 6,700, getting most of the work for the Packers backfield. Josh Jacobs looks pretty good. I feel like there's several plays. So because I have a lot of interest in them, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Jordan Love, you guys go into any Jordan Love stacks? I mean, Jaden Reed, I think, still looks really good. He's been great in the 3 games when Jordan Love has been active. So I think that's a natural stack. Tucker Kraft can be part of those stacks. Dontavian Wicks, if Christian Watson is out. So I think there are a lot of ways to stack up the Packers. I thought about writing up Romeo Doubs, and then I didn't. He doesn't project that well, but to me, kind of interesting in a, I don't know if it's a narrative thing, but Jordan Love historically has loved Romeo Doubs. Now he's coming back after his complaints about his usage. Maybe Jordan Love does get him a little bit involved at zero ownership.
I love that narrative angle. I won't play it, but I do like it. Like it just I like the way
I didn't write it up.
Especially if Watson goes, he's the same price as Wicks. So Dobbs is going to be out there. Like we don't have to worry about Dobbs's routes. Like he's kind of in that Marvin Harrison role where he's just like the X every time. And so he's going to be. Now, does he get the targets? I don't know, but at 5,200, I think he's definitely in play.
So, what do we think about Jordan Love? Are you guys going to be doing any Packer stacks?
I don't know if I guess it probably is a spot where you want a bring back, but I don't love the bring back options. I mean, I'm actually still pretty in on Marvin Harrison from like a redraft and like weekly games perspective, but at 7,200, I don't love him here. It's just a lot. The thing with the Cardinals, my read on the Cardinals offense is that like they're not throwing to the deep middle of the field. They're not like attacking 10 plus yards and over the middle, which is where you get a lot of yak. They're doing like more high degree of difficulty throws. They're not moving Marvin Harrison around. They're not doing a lot of like easy button, easy throw stuff with him. So it's just gonna be inconsistent. But I think the upside is still there. Harrison is like when you look at like the first 3 target rates, like he is not behind McBride. He's the guy. He's the main target, and at least what they look like they're designing. So. I still have faith in him. It's just he's really expensive, and so that I don't know. I guess I might play around with some Love stuff, but it doesn't jump out to me.
Well, and Davis will tell you don't need to do a bring back, so you could just do the Love and leave out a Cardinals bring back.
You definitely don't need to do a bring back. Maybe in this spot you'd say a bring back helps because
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like this game, I think. Could so easily devolve into run heavy, and so I want the game to go a certain way. Yeah. But I agree. I just don't think the bring back options are priced at the right salary. So you probably theoretically it's a good bring back spot, but I don't actually think that it is.
Interesting.
Yeah. Play Jordan Love against the Cardinals defense. There you go. Solved it.
Yeah, good. All right, I like that analysis.
Yeah,
a lot of ways to stack it up.
Pretty good.
Trey McBride, to me, I also still do like Trey McBride as a bring back. I actually wrote that up as a stack that I kind of like. I went back and forth on it because I'm like, I really like Tucker Kraft individually as a play. So it kind of makes sense to just throw him into a Jordan Love stack. But I kind of feel like when people play Tucker Kraft, it's mostly going to be in Jordan Love stack. So maybe galbraining too much going to Tucker Kraft as the bring back there. But I think there's just a lot of different ways that I like to try stacking this game up. It might be one that just ends up being kind of a trap, but it feels like 2 like good offenses, not great defenses, feels like a spot where we could just have an explosive game, just go completely off. So I really like the game environment. But yeah, could just see it devolve into a running game. James Conner, any interest there?
Maybe before this Bucky stuff. Probably not. If like assuming that Rachaad White is out, I just feel like the running back pool is going to be like I might only play like 5 running backs across 10 lineups or something.
Yeah, the tough part for me is that I just prefer Jacobs and he's cheaper.
Yeah,
but I do think Conner at 6,800, just like leaving that aside, is a pretty good play. I mean, they're going to try to run here as well.
Yeah, I think that is good analysis that Bucky does kind of change the equation a little bit because he's going to be a big part of a lot of lineups. I think Kyler also in play, averaging 49 rushing yards per game. Could have to throw more than usual against the Packers in a game that they are underdogs. So, but lot of good plays to me in this game. It's going to be one that I target a good amount. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about this game?
No.
Okay. Colts at Titans. Colts have an implied team total of 20.25. That is 20th on the week. Titans 22.75 implied team total is 11th best on the week. Pat, I'll go to you for this one. I mean, we have Michael Pittman out. Josh Downs questionable. Sort of a tough one to break down, but who do you anticipate playing or wanting to play this weekend?
Right, and we don't necessarily know for sure that Anthony Richardson's going to go, although it looks like he'll probably go. And that's a bummer for Josh Downs, right? You get Pittman out, it's like, okay, Josh Downs, I mean, this dude's already earning targets at an insane rate. Like, they're just going to feed him, but that's not really Richardson's game, you know? So I'm probably just looking at Tony Pollard here right now. That's like the one dude. I know he's going to be real chalky, but maybe Bucky helps keep that from getting too extreme. But I mean, I do think Pollard is a good play.
I'm seeing somebody in chat saying Michael Pittman, a full participant today, likely to play now.
Yeah. It's literally insane. Like, there was just a report that came out. He said, "I'm fine."
Okay. I missed that report. That is insane.
They're talking him going on IR, right?
Yeah. Like yesterday they were talking about him going on IR.
He practiced in full today. Here's the deal.
Okay.
Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs and A.D. Mitchell, these guys don't matter if Anthony Richardson is quarterbacking, which they said he probably is. So
all right. So maybe we don't need to go into it all that much.
That
is
Pollard,
so
I will say, I'll say this: don't look a gift horse in the mouth. See, you get these spots. It's like Tony Pollard is the opposite. Remember when Najee Harris was in this spot and he was the most owned running back? Mm-hmm. This is like the opposite of that. This is a guy you've been waiting your whole life to play against this Colts defense, and now you're getting to do it. I would say we
waited a little too long. You know, like this. It was like we wanted this in 2019.
We waited a little too long, but don't look the gift horse in the mouth of Tony. I will probably play Pollard on every team. Probably.
Okay. So every team's Pollard and Bucky preloaded.
But I'd be less likely to play 100% Bucky because there's like, Rashawn Tucker could come in, this, whatever, O'Keefe, but like, or maybe he just doesn't score a touchdown. But like, Pollard is scoring a touchdown, and he's probably catching 4 passes, and he probably runs for 87 yards.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I like Pollard quite a bit. He's not going to be a lock for me like he is for Davis, but I'll have a good amount of Tony Pollard. I like that play quite a bit. Any interest in the passing game? Only asking because they're playing against the Colts, which has just been a great spot.
It's just too fancy, man. I think, but Will Levis, he's not. He had a 4 touchdown game. Was it against the Colts?
It was like his first ever game, his first NFL game. He went completely off. Looked like he was gonna be awesome, and then he's just been terrible ever since.
I think it was against the Colts.
I think it was, yeah.
So there you go.
No, Atlanta.
Okay.
As FF Doom says, though, he's 4,800, gets a best possible matchup. We know he's willing to sling it. DeAndre Hopkins, so this is part of it. Only up to 52% route participation his last game, but then a bye week. And we've been kind of expecting to build up there. He's only 5,100. So to me, you're probably right.
So many times.
I know.
Doesn't it just, he's going to run 63% of routes. It's like, you're going to be like, yeah, I guess he got a little bit of a bump, but it was not what we were wanting.
Yeah.
That just feels like what's going to happen. But there is definitely, you could talk yourself into being like, yeah, what if he's at 75? And at 75, he's been really good. Like, he's actually drawing targets and producing on the targets he gets. And Ridley has not really been. So, if we're correct, if we bet on him to run more routes and end up being right, that's an interesting single stack.
Yeah, or just playing without Will Levis too, I think is sort of viable there.
Sure.
Yeah. You might be right that it's too fancy to play Will Levis. I hesitated with that one because I'm like, it's Will Levis. Do I really need to write this up?
I mean, if you told me Will Levis enters the Trubisky zone where he wins someone a million maker once a year, I would believe you, but it's not going to be me. It's going to be someone else.
You're going to let somebody else win that million. Okay.
I will let someone else win that $1 million.
Right.
Fair. All right. Anything else from this game?
No. I'm gonna fiddle with a Will Levis.
Think about
4,800, like it's rattlery. It's damn near rattler level.
It is. All right. Next game here, Cleveland Browns at Philadelphia Eagles. The Browns have an implied team total of 16.75, tied for the 26th best on the slate. The Eagles, 25.75. That's tied for 6th best on the week. I wrote up the Browns as being a team we can completely ignore. Do you guys see it the same way, or is there anybody else you like? Is there anybody on the Browns?
This is The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Pat?
I think Jerome Ford is someone you could
thought
think
about it.
No, because now they're messing with his snaps, dude. They like brought Pierre Strong back last week and gave him like a 4th down carry.
Yeah, fair. All right.
How about the Eagles though? The Eagles a little bit. I mean, Jalen Hurts is just priced really 7,200.
This is
DraftKings.
This is my gold star lock of the week spot. Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts. I think this is like maybe the first time in Jalen Hurts' life I'm gonna double stack him in a contest, because he actually like is not running very well this year. Like he looks slower. I don't know what it is. But if we're doing vibes-based analysis, I'm curious your guys' vibes-based take on my vibes here. The Eagles have not looked competent since like week 8 of last year. If any team has ever needed to just like get their swagger back and just like feel like they can put 40 points on the board, it is the Philadelphia Eagles against like a team that just, don't you feel like it's just got to be a mutiny every day in Cleveland Browns practice? Like every day the offense is like, man. Oh God, we got to deal with this shit. And then the defense is like, what's even the point of doing our jobs? What's even the point? What's the point?
Yeah.
Where do you think morale was lower? This Cleveland Browns team or last year's Zach Wilson Jets?
The Zach Wilson Jets, they were still trying on defense. That's the thing. The Browns defense was one of the best in the NFL last year. I don't think they had any major losses on the defense.
No.
They're terrible now. Why are they terrible? It's effort. Because they don't care. Because why would you care? I don't even blame them.
They're still showing up well in the pass rushing numbers. I think the pass rush is still good.
Well, yeah, I think you're overselling how bad they are. Just looking at schedule adjusted stuff, ranked 9th against quarterbacks.
They're
19th. So they're giving up a lot to running backs, but 11th against receivers, 6th against tight ends. They still look.
And they were kind of a run funnel last year. Teams were running on them last year to avoid the pass rush.
I feel very good about this take. They're giving up 40. They're giving up 45 to the Eagles this week.
All right.
The numbers I was looking at pointed to AJ Brown as maybe the guy to prioritize here in the passing game, with the idea that the pass rush is good, and they're going to be wanting to get the ball out fairly quickly. And on quick throws, it's actually been AJ Brown who's benefiting the most from that. So let me see if I have the number. 34% targets per route run on quick throws dating back to the beginning of 2023, with Dallas Goedert at 24%, Devontae Smith at 23%. That's one way to play the fact that the Browns pass rush is still pretty damn good. They're the 3rd in pass rush win rate, 6th in pressure rate, 1st in time to pressure. The other way would be to play Saquon Barkley and bet on them to run the ball a bunch. The Browns are not good against the run, 15th in rushing success rate, 16th in EP allowed per rush. Not terrible, but the Eagles are running the ball really well this year. And you would, if pass rush is a problem, one of the easiest things to do is just to run the ball more, especially if the Browns are as hopeless on offense as we all think they are. We could just see the Eagles completely run it down their throat. And Barkley, even at 8,200, I think is a really strong play.
Yeah, David said earlier you prefer Barkley to Alvin Kamara. Do you think you're going to play any Barkley in your Jalen Hurts stacks?
I won't play them together because I just think the 1 yard touchdowns. I mean,
yeah,
it is still tilted in. It's like there's only so many of those available. Obviously, Barkley can score like 80-yard touchdowns that DeAndre Swift was not scoring, but that's bad for Hurts. And an 80-yard touchdown is brutal for Hurts because then he can't get the bonus, takes away a bunch of completions for AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. You don't really want that. But yeah, I will play at least one Barkley Smith, one Barkley AJ Brown.
You're saying Barkley, you mean Hurts?
Hurts, yeah. Hurts and the wide receiver, and then I'll probably do one Barkley with another game stack.
Yeah.
So are you doing 2 wide receivers? I guess I was going to ask you, do you have concerns about like just the Browns not being able to keep up?
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
So
I do.
that's the tough side about doing a double stack there. And they're also
Yeah.
pretty expensive. So you kind of need a big score. You really need
I
them
think
to be throwing the whole
single
game.
stacking is probably best. If I was doing like Millie Maker, like super large field stuff, I think I'd do some double stacks.
Okay. Makes sense. Anything else on Eagles or Browns?
No.
Okay. Houston Texans at New England Patriots. The Texans have an implied team total of 22.5. That's tied for 12th best on the slate. The Patriots implied team total 15.5. That is the worst on the slate, but they get Drake May here. So I'm gonna let Pat go first because we get his guy Drake May starting in this game. What do you have any interest in? Oh, we also have Ramondre Stevenson out. So now we have Antonio Gibson in at running back on the Patriots. Do you have any interest in any of these Patriots players?
I think Gibson is the way that we would play a competent outing for Drake May. And I think that's what you're betting on in this game. You're betting on him to flash, do some fun stuff. He's going to struggle. He might throw an interception. He's going to take some sacks. But the offense having bright spots, which has been, they've just been so desperate for kind of any flash this season. And Antonio Gibson really has flashed in a limited sample. He has 15 rush yards over expected per game, despite only 26% of the attempts. He's 4th in rush yards over expected per attempt among running backs. He's 4th in yards per route run at 2.05. He's been better than Ramondre as far as the efficiency goes. Now it's a much smaller sample, and Ramondre's been pretty solid as well. But I like him but he is kind of the classic handcuff who consolidates all the work, right? Because we know they can trust him on passing downs. He's a big back, so he can handle all the short yardage stuff and pass protection and all of that. So I think we could be looking at a really strong snap share, kind of in a Zach Charbonnet way, of he just comes in and soaks up all the snaps.
That's exactly who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet at 5,300, especially if everyone's going to go to Bucky. Like I think that if the pivot off of Bucky to an Antonio Gibson, and you just bet on May to kind of be decent, be non-disastrous in his first start. And one of the nice things about the play is that Gibson is involved in the receiving game in a way that Bucky is not. So even if you're like, how could I possibly break a tie here when I'm getting the Buccaneers offense versus this rookie in his first start on the Patriots? I think the potential for some dump off stuff as he consolidates all of the routes. And Ramondre, it doesn't feel like he's involved in the passing game because he has 0.44 yards per route run, but he has a 13% target share this season, and Gibson's been at 7%. So there's actually a fair amount of receiving work to the running back here if one guy could consolidate it.
Yeah, I like that call quite a bit. You look around the industry, we do actually have 4for4 has updated projections for these scenarios. We do have Bucky Irving projected over 16 fantasy points for Bucky Irving at 5,400. Antonio Gibson at just under 12 at 5,300. So projection wise, Bucky Irving looks pretty significantly better. But I like your take of just like he's more involved in the passing game. Those PPR points add up quickly. So like even though the projection's not there for Antonio Gibson, clearly could get there. DFS Temp asks, why not just soak up the value and play both Bucky and Gibson? I think that's certainly in play. Of course, if you want to lock Tony Pollard, then you're getting 3 value running backs into your lineup. I think that's viable. Any issue with that?
Flex is so back, dude.
Yeah,
it's
it really
back.
is.
It's back, baby.
It went away for 1 week and now it's back. But really,
it's like super back.
Bucky Irving is just a running back play for guys who like wide receivers anyway. Same for Gibson too, really.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I do think that there's some like the Hurts stack is one that I do like, and so there's stuff to unlock with like playing a couple of these value running backs. It's not like you're just. Sometimes it's like, what am I actually getting by doing this? And I do think some of the more expensive quarterbacks are interesting on this slate. So that would be where I'd be looking to go.
What about a Hurts double stack without Hurts? Just go to Spencer Rattler with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Throw in, I'm trying to make it work with also CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown, but then you need to play somebody in the flex, so it's not quite going to.
I like the CD Amon-Ra one better, but then I do too. I think
and then I think if you're doing, Eagles, I guess.
If you're doing Rattler and the cheap guys, then I think I'm trying to go Barkley. Like that's a more fun way for me to do it. I think
that makes sense. Davis, are you doing anything else with the Patriots?
No, but the play we got to talk about is Mixon.
Yeah.
If he comes back this week,
That's a good one.
so he hasn't been in content all week. It's going to be a little bit shaky. Like, oh, Dari's going to play the long down and distance. Let me tell you, this team is begging out for a game to just like reset their bearings without Nico Collins. Like, can we just get 20 points and just leave? Can we just not deal with this right now? Mixon is a really good play, and I'll say, Tank Dell, man, he is. You are gonna feel like an idiot if Tank Dell actually just turns back into Tank Dell. Like, yeah, he's been inefficient. He's not generating enough separation. He broke his leg. He got shot in his leg. But like, eventually, he will just be good again. And we're not gonna know when. We're not gonna know how it's gonna happen, but it is gonna happen.
Yeah, I saw Matt Harmon talking about how he doesn't look anything like he did last year.
And he doesn't, but eventually he will. And also, It might be one of those things where like, maybe he won't be as efficient, but he makes up for it in volume because they got to throw to someone, and the other target earners are Cade Stover, Xavier Hutchinson, the running backs, and Dalton
John
Schultz.
Mechie. I mean, they have Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, Diggs. What?
But you can't replace a Nico Collins hole with just more Diggs.
I mean, I think you can do. I mean, Diggs has not been targeted at that high a rate. I think Diggs will benefit. And I also think Diggs is in play. Like Diggs,
the
even at 7,400.
secret thing is that they're not throwing that much.
Right. They probably won't need to throw much.
No,
here.
they won't need to throw much here.
Yeah.
Unless.
The
That's
other
great.
guy,
Awesome.
if we're going back to May, I do think that Hunter Henry at 3,800 is at least somewhat interesting.
Certainly not worse than playing chalk Cade Otton.
Yeah. I mean, he's potentially the number one in the offense. Like, it's hard to know what this offense is supposed to look like, and we probably won't know this week either. but maybe Hunter Henry. I guess if this offense surprises, it would not surprise me if Hunter Henry was the guy who really benefits. Because the receivers, I mean, Jalen Polk has been very poor in open score. Demario Douglas has been pretty good, but he's a slot receiver. He's not going to run all the routes. I don't really want to go there. Hunter Henry has been pretty decent this year as far as route participation and earning targets. So, obviously filling that tight end position cheaply is intriguing.
I think it's been debunked. The rookie quarterbacks targeting tight ends. I think that has been debunked at this point, but you never know. Maybe Drake May is a rookie quarterback who likes his tight ends. Maybe that he's just going to be the type of quarterback. So I like that call going on Henry.
Yeah, and just maybe he might be the most talented pass catcher on this roster. Yeah.
I kept hearing that Drake May is going to unlock Javon Baker. Do you think is that coming at any point in the future?
I think you have to be active to
be prerequisite. Yeah,
is the issue.
Eventually, one day maybe. Yeah. Is FF Doom asks, is Diggs playing outside with Nico out? Curious if Gonzalez shadows him all day.
Xavier Hutchinson will.
Okay, so not a concern there. Mixon. I like that you brought up Mixon Davis because again, when I was writing this up, I had heard Dameon Pierce is going to be active for this game. I thought still going to be a committee with Dameon Pierce, Daria Gumbawale, and now it is looking like Mixon is going to be back this week. So you're right, he hasn't been in content all week because none of us have thought he was going to play. Sounds like Mixon is going to be back, so that's a good call out there. Diggs, Dell, Dalton Schultz is the other player that I wrote up just because saw 6 targets last week when Collins was limited to 9 snaps. We saw last year he was much more involved in the offense before they got Diggs. So I kind of think he might be a beneficiary of Nico Collins being out also. So a little bit interesting. Not exactly a great game environment, but I think fine.
He's really cheap
Dalton
though.
Schultz. Yeah, only 4,100.
Yeah.
So I think he looks pretty good. Anything else on this game?
No.
Commanders at Ravens. The Commanders have an implied team total of 22.5. The Ravens 29. Ravens, that's the top implied team total on the slate or on the weekend. Commanders tied for 12th on the weekend. Davis, who do you like in this Commanders-Ravens game?
Really just the quarterbacks and Flowers. I mean, Lamar and Flowers, Lamar and Likely. I think if you play Daniels, you probably just play him naked. I just think McLaurin is just gonna. It's like I see him in 28% owned or whatever. I don't know. He's all right, I guess. Not that into it. I would do my weekly recommendation of Brian Robinson Jr., but it sounds like he might not play. Sounds like he's a true game time decision. In which case, I'd love to play a bunch of Austin Eckler, but 7th-year breakout from 30-year-old Jeremy McWeapon, I mean, is like a legitimately limiting factor for Eckler's workload. Like, I think he'd get 9 rushes probably if Brian Robinson doesn't play, and maybe some goal line stuff. So, not great. But, I mean, come on. Lamar and Zay Flowers is like, against this defense, they're the jams.
Obviously.
I agree. They're the jams to me, too. I think, Zay Flowers is the cover boy of the walkthrough this week. And the thing about Zay Flowers is that if you look at his first read target rates through the first 4 weeks, they're quite low. 8%, 14%, 6%, 0%. Normally with the wide receiver 1, we're looking for like in the 20% range. That is what he had last week against the Bengals, though. And the other thing about the first read targets is that it's not like they're going anywhere else. We're seeing, Bateman this year has a 9% first read target rate. Aguilar 9%, likely 10%, Andrews 9%. No one is getting first read targets in this offense, which means that they're moving off the primary design of the play at a pretty high rate. Lamar's scrambling. Lamar's checking down to Justice Hill, who's seen a lot of his targets on checkdowns this year. So the offense has not been clicking. They're going against the Commanders' defense that's been pretty poor, 26th in EPA allowed per dropback, and they're dead last in EPA on first reads. So you can kind of execute the primary design of the play against the Commanders. I think that really benefits Flowers. You're also looking at a defense that doesn't double much. They're 26th in double team rate. They're going to be in a decent amount of single man coverage with Flowers there. And Flowers is averaging 3.48 yards per route run with a 36% targets per route run against single man coverage. So this looks like a really good spot for the offense to just like express what it's trying to do. And Mark Andrews is not even out there half the time. So that's not what they're trying to do. Likely's only out there on about 60, 70% of routes. Zay Flowers is about as clear as the number 1 option as we get. It's just that we're not always seeing those plays, executed the way that they're drawn up. And I think we get more of that this week. So Zay Flowers is one of my favorite plays. And I like stacking him with Lamar as well. This game could be a really fun shootout. To the Terry McLaurin stuff, I agree. I think one thing to just consider with McLaurin is that he's only been doubled on 20% of his routes, which is 22nd percentile among wide receivers. He's going up against a Baltimore defense that's 7th in double team rate. And so in a way, I don't know that this now it's a game environment that could be really back and forth with kind of a shootout. That's obviously going to be great for McLaurin if that happens, but he's potentially going to be dealing with a lot more defensive attention than he's had to so far. So it's not like as clean to me as like, man, what a great spot for McLaurin. I think it's a good spot for McLaurin, but would be a spot where I'd be willing to move off of him if everyone else is going there. I'd rather play it from the Lamar Flowers side.
Yeah. What about if you did want to stack with Jaden Daniels? I'm always trying to stack Zach Ertz. 3,700 looks pretty good to me. Any interest there?
He's the one. I'd rather do Ertz than McLaurin just based on the ownership stuff.
I do think Eckler's interesting. He's really popping in small sample stuff. And I don't know. I'm just reading McNichols' thing as like he was almost like a replacement for Eckler while he was dealing with the concussion as opposed to
that's the thing about McWeapon, dude. He can do both.
He can.
He can be Brandon.
How do you get the nickname
coming out, man? I loved him coming out.
I don't remember him as a prospect.
He was Ashton GT before GT, dude.
He got cut by the Buccaneers,
touchdown.
I think, in training camp. Like he didn't even make his first training camp. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, correct.
I don't think either of you has mentioned Derrick Henry. How do we feel about Derrick Henry in this game?
That's audience that's selection bias.
Yeah.
Henry's one of the better plays on the slate, I think, because if they're going to bet on this game to shoot out, which is what I want to do. I want to bet on this game to shoot out, and Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers are going to go nuts. It's going to be super fun. But Henry is set up to just like completely destroy all of that and feast on a lot of rushing volume. The Commanders are 27th in EPA allowed per rush, 27th in rushing success rate against. They are not good against the run. And we've seen when the Ravens So the Ravens they're kind of like they got two modes this season against the Chiefs, Raiders, and Bengals. Right? They lose all three of those games. Right? Didn't they lose to the Raiders? Am I losing my mind?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Oh no, so they didn't. No, so they beat the Bengals in overtime. My bad. But they go 71%, 60%, and 62% pass rates in those three games. Pretty good. In their other two games where they beat the Cowboys and Bills, 29% pass rate, 37% against the Bills. So they've gone like they have this mode where they're just like gonna run it, and this could be one of those games. In which case, Derrick Henry, it could just be an absolute smash.
Yeah, I like the play for all the reasons you mentioned. Leverage on the passing game that everybody wants to play. Just a good individual play. Looks pretty solid to me. Terry McLaurin, it was interesting. I looked through his like ADOT charts, or to just look through the numbers game to game, because it was my impression that he like wasn't being targeted down the field early on, and then was they kind of opened that up recently. That's not really what I saw. It kind of seems like he's just been sporadically used downfield.
They throw him like two deep ones a game.
And he
the Commanders don't like Jaden Daniels is a 2.53 time to throw. His average throw is falling 2 yards short of the sticks, 7.2 ADOT, not particularly high. Like a lot of their throws are just short throws, and then they're sporadically attacking downfield. So, I mean, I could see them. I think they're going to throw a decent amount in this game because the Ravens are pretty good against the run and not so good against the pass. But it could be like a lot. It could just be like more short throws to Eckler or to McNichols or to Ertz. But I don't know that necessarily boosts McLaurin a ton.
Yeah,
it could, but I don't know. It's he's definitely a play where if he's chalk, I'm okay fading him.
FF Doom asks, has Flowers ever scored 25 plus DK points? I'm pretty sure you knew the answer to that question. Otherwise, he would have set the threshold differently, because he's gotten over 20 several times, but he has never gotten. I did just check to see if he has. He has never gotten over 25 fantasy points. 22.2, 23.2. Just looking at his logs from last year, and on DraftKings, I wonder if some of these may be with the 100-yard bonus, another 20-point game. So he's getting over 20. Plenty. I think that at some point in his career, he's going to score over 25.
I mean, last week he had a great game, didn't score a touchdown. They get 2 to Likely and 1 to Kolar.
He kind of has a Olave disease where every time he gets the bonus, he doesn't score, and anytime he scores, he doesn't get the bonus.
That is kind of what I'm seeing in the game log. He had a game with 22.1 fantasy points early this year with 91 yards. So just needed one more 10-yard catch to get there.
His to Kareem's point, if you didn't know about the Ravens' passing volume and all you got to see was his peripherals, like his yards per route run, targets per route run, first read target share, you'd be like, I'm paying $8,200 on DraftKings for that guy.
Right.
Yeah. Right. All right. Next game, excuse me. We have the Chargers at the Broncos. Here's one that I think we can probably keep pretty short. The Chargers have an implied team total of 19.25, tied for 22nd best. Broncos 16.25 is 27th out of 28 teams on the slate. So not a ton of fantasy goodness. I actually wrote up 4 players in this game, which is more than I expected to. Pat, do you have any interest in Chargers or Broncos? Anybody from this game?
I mean, Gus Edwards is looking iffy or out, right? So Dobbins is interesting. And that's kind of where my interest is.
It's Javonte and it's Dobbins, but the issue with Javonte is that I think Estime is going to be active, and based on the Tyler Bidet stuff, I think Estime is going to come back and play right away. Because Tyler Bidet was like a nothing. Like, this is a guy who got kicked off a Ravens roster who, like, they always need running backs.
Right. They signed like Latavius Murray after cutting him or whatever.
Yeah. So,
or they maybe already had him.
Yeah. So, and I just like the thing is like, oh, Lad McConkey's 4,900, kind of interesting. He's like, yeah, he is, but like, how many plays are going to be run in this game?
Right. It's not, also like it seems like people are going to be on McConkey. If McConkey was just like no one had any interest, sure.
Right.
But you're gonna eat Lad McConkey chalk against like maybe the best defense in the league?
Nah, Leggett is the rookie wide receiver you want at that salary.
Fair, yeah. McConkey was drafted in I did a cage match show with Jake Tribby and Ryan Heath, and Ryan Heath drafted Lad McConkey. So I was like, I mean, if he's going in a 3-man, like basically a cash style contest, drafting 4,900 Lad McConkey, have to at least consider that. He is, he's been pretty good this year. Third on the Chargers in route participation, leads the team, but that's with 24 targets in 4 games, 24 targets. So even as the lead receiver, not exactly a target hog. Dobbins, projects pretty well, but becomes less and less interesting as we get more value opening up at running back. Still arguably in play with Gus Edwards potentially out. So those are the two that I wrote up for the Chargers. And then on the Broncos side, Javonte I wrote up, but I'd love it if Estime can come in and be something here for the Broncos. Maybe not a priority. And then Cortland Sutton, the only other Bronco that I wrote up, just because he has 40 targets on the year, so he is being targeted a bit. Nice spot against Chargers, kind of bad defense. But no real priorities in this game at all. Anything else anybody wants to say about anybody?
No.
Okay.
This is one of the fantasy Siberia games.
Yeah, it is.
And we get another one, sort of, to an extent at least. I'd say this qualifies. Pittsburgh Steelers at Las Vegas Raiders. Steelers have an implied team total of 19.75. That's 21st best on the week. Raiders 16.75. That's tied for 26th best on the week. So another kind of fantasy Siberia game. Nobody who is a target. I wrote up 3 plays as potential MME plays. Pat, any interest in anybody from Steelers Raiders?
If Jalen Warren doesn't play, then I think Najee Harris has at least
save yourself. Appeal. Save yourself, man.
I know. And we don't really need to go there because we've got other cheap options at running back, but he's 5,800 and he's in a pretty good spot. So I think you at least have to consider it. And then, Justin Fields, this is like a playoff game. This is a make or break career. This is potentially changes the course of his entire career. If he wins this game, he might be like a multi-year starter for the Steelers. If he loses this game, Russell Wilson is starting in week 7.
Time to learn Russell Wilson, buddy.
Yeah. This is a true must win for Justin Fields. And it's a pretty good matchup. So, I think he's definitely in play. Now, are you going to play him with George Pickens, who's running 65% of the routes for some reason? Because they Tomlin's we wanted to get
that's
better.
What they do.
All of his per route stuff has been great. And they're like, no, we need to cut this guy. We need to play more Van Jefferson for some reason. It makes no sense. Pat Freiermuth, I'm not that interested in. So I guess it's naked Justin Fields. And it feels like a weird week to play naked Justin Fields when, you're looking at maybe playing naked Spencer Rattler 4,000 and he's 5,800. But I do think that this could be a pretty nice game for Fields. Fields needs to put his best foot forward here.
Yeah. When I write up a quarterback, I always look for I feel like I should write up a pass catching option because I rarely do the naked quarterback thing. I'm basically always stacking, but I couldn't get myself to write up George Pickens or Pat Freiermuth. It's just they're borderline. You could almost, and then I decided just write up Justin Fields because the price looks good enough. Hard to really endorse anybody from the passing game. Davis, anybody you like on the Steelers or the Raiders?
I mean, Bowers every week. It's just he's probably the best tight end in football. He was 2% owned last week. He'll probably be 2% owned this week. That's really about it. Yeah.
At least in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed, it's actually been sort of a tight end funnel. I don't know if you can call it a tight end funnel, but allowing the 27th most schedule adjusted fantasy points, the 27th best at stopping schedule adjusted fantasy points to tight ends. So tight ends have been apparently better than average against the Steelers so far this year. I think that's probably just a sample size thing, not really something I want to lean into too much, but with Bowers being the player that you want to play anyway, I was all right, that's sort of interesting at least. But I don't think there's anybody else we really need to talk about in this game. Another interesting one though, Falcons at Panthers. Falcons have an implied team total of 26.5. That's tied for 3rd best on the week. The Panthers implied team total of 20.5, 19th best on the week. Davis, who do you like in the Falcons-Panthers game?
Everyone, right? Isn't that the answer? So we have I've never seen this before. If you run optimals, wherever you run optimals, you are going to get all 3 Falcons wide receivers without getting their quarterback, which is pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
You'll also probably get Bijan. Crazy. Pitts is definitely in play. Even if it's just because it's leverage on 22% owned Darnell Mooney or whatever, 11% owned Ray McLeod with 1% owned Kyle Pitts. Pretty interesting. Deontay Johnson in play. Xavier Leggett in play. Hubbard probably less in play now because Bucky Irving is just a better version of the Hubbard play. And maybe that makes Hubbard a better play. Like if Hubbard goes from being 22% owned chalk to 15% owned chalk, that probably makes me like playing him a little bit more. The only question I really have is does Kirk Cousins have the rule that Matt Stafford has, where Matt Stafford cannot score more than 22 points regardless of how many points his pass catchers score? Or is Kirk Cousins, does he actually beat that? And he
doesn't. No, I mean, he's had spike week potential. He's been a best ball hero for the last few years. So I think he's
last week, right? Didn't he have
a game last week? He had like 500-yard passing. Yeah.
So maybe I don't think I wrote up Kirk Cousins, and I noticed the same thing. It was like, man, everybody looks good here, but Cousins just point per dollar. Actually, I can see if I wrote him up, but I think that I went. Oh, I guess I wrote him up as an MME play. They're at third in neutral pass rate so far this year. The Falcons. We just saw the 500-yard game. Gets a great matchup here. So yeah, in play, but not nearly as huge of a priority as you would expect with all of his pass catchers being priorities here. So Bijan, so sort of an interesting thing we saw last week. Tyler Rozier, we talked about it. Tyler Rozier was used like in overtime when they, or maybe in the fourth quarter when I think it was like 3 minutes left. They needed to drive the whole length of the field. They're using Tyler Rozier. They're throwing the ball to Tyler Rozier. None of it makes sense. So it seemed pretty clear that Bijan had a hurt hamstring. Now I think yesterday popped up as questionable on the injury report. So first of all, Bijan, like, do we have major concerns there? If he's going to be chalk, like I think he's going to make it into cash game optimals. Is he still? I guess he's not in as many optimals as he was yesterday with all of these Bucky Irving popping up.
I think we've either been saved from ourselves or we just missed out on generational wealth. Like one or the two. Like Bijan Robinson, 13 carries, 38 yards. Bijan Robinson, 18 carries, 140 yards. It's hard to say.
Yeah. I mean, we have him still very high in the rest of the season running back ranks, but this is one of those spots where if he does not perform well, like I am lowering him a lot. Like this is the spot. Like you have to.
DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson both got 20 points.
Yeah, man.
Defense.
I mean, the Panthers can't stop anything. They can't stop the pass, which is obviously why everyone's popping in the passing game, but they also can't stop the run, 25th in EPA allowed per rush. They're dead last in run stop win rate. Like there should be, this has got to be a big game for Bijan Robinson, unless he's just not very good, or maybe he's dealing with injury and this is just not going to be a very good season.
Refuse to believe.
Well, he's been hurt. I mean, so that would be my counter to the like lowering him significantly and not wanting to go back there would be, well, what if it's just because he's hurt that he's not performing well right now and he's going to get healthy at some point, you would think.
Yeah, but like these nagging injuries, and then you have like a good back behind him. Like I could definitely see him like coming on down the stretch and being like, oh wow, okay, he just wasn't healthy. But it's maybe more like he just blows up next season. And you're like, yeah, he just wasn't healthy all of 2024, and now he's healthy or whatever. But because I mean, he's running back 29 rush yards over expected per game, running back 31 in success rate. He's not doing great in the passing game, so. Yeah, it makes me a little nervous. I think the matchup, though, like, for all your redraft stuff, you're locked in, you got it. Like, this is what you drafted him for this matchup. So in DFS, I mean, I guess it'll depend a little bit on, like, how the field is playing. Because if he's showing up as pretty chalky right now, and I'm okay. Like, I'm okay betting on them not giving him all the work and him not ripping off long runs. If the field is going to ask me to do that, I think I'm more interested in Drake London than I am Bijan. I don't know how you guys feel.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, London, Mooney, McLeod, they're all smashes. They're all at the right price. Like Mooney's too cheap. They're all too cheap, man. Like Darnell Mooney at $5,200, it's incredible. He's a $6,000 player in this role.
I think Ray is the one that I would be a little bit nervous about because what about passing volume?
McLeod could go to 0 at any time. anytime.
Yeah.
Easily. The other interesting thing would be, so actually we don't need to talk about it, I guess, because it looks like Bijan was a full participant, good to go now. So he was questionable. Okay. I was thinking about Tyler Algier, like where would Tyler Algier rank if Bijan was out? But we don't need to do that ranking with Tyler Algier with probably higher than Bucky Irving, I would think.
Yeah. Because it's the Gibson play, except he's on a good offense and a good matchup.
Yeah.
What
about with Bijan now being, I guess he was a full participant, so I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, well, Bijan is still coming in, like he's been hobbled with his hamstring, like could clearly re-aggravate the injury, in which case now we get Tyler Algier at no ownership in obviously like a best possible matchup. I'm still like sort of interested in Tyler Algier in large field tournaments just because it's like, well, you can clearly see he needs to overcome this one obstacle, which is Bijan, and Bijan has been playing with a hurt hamstring, was limited last week. Like you can see the case for Algier just like suddenly having a huge workload, Bijan re-aggravates it or something. Would that fall under the too cute for you? In I guess I'm playing Millie Maker style, so I think for Millie Maker, to me this is in play going to Tyler Algier, but I'm curious what you guys think.
Feels pretty cute to me.
With I guess with all the value popping up too.
There's lots of other value. If he was like 4,400 or something, then I'd be way more into it. But it feels a little cute with like you're saving $200 compared to Bucky or Gibson or whatever. So
yeah, it's pretty borderline. I think I liked it better when I wrote it up than I do now with Bucky Irving, Antonio Gibson, all these other plays out there, and Bijan now fully practicing. So that's kind of makes it less interesting. Kyle Pitts, as mentioned, is I think in play this week. The other side of it, I mean, we're thinking. I mean, Xavier Legette. Have you given your talk on Xavier Legette yet, Davis?
Man, he just is good. He got hurt last week, but he's just earning targets. He got all the snaps when Thielen went out. I mean, it's what you want. It's really just basically, can Andy Dalton be week 3, week 4 Andy Dalton? Because if we get week 5 Andy Dalton, then you're not even going to want Deontay Johnson.
That was also against the Bears.
Sorry, that was the Bears are good.
The Bears are good. Falcons not so good. And I to be honest, I like never love Deontay Johnson chalk, so it's fine for me to get a little bit of leverage there.
Yeah, I like that. Makes sense. I just think it's worth, like the Bears have just shut down everybody, every passing offense. I think CJ Stroud had the best game for a quarterback against them, and it was still not that great. Just they've been awesome at limiting quarterbacks in general. So that was a really tough spot. Maybe Andy Dalton will just come back to what he had been previously. Chuba Hubbard, a little bit less. Chuba Hubbard was looking like a cash game lock. I still think probably in play for cash games, maybe, but we do have enough great value that if you want to get away from it, you can at this point. Deontay Johnson just has been such a target hog with Andy Dalton that it's sort of hard to, not want to play some 60. For whatever reason, Deontay Johnson's price tag is not going up. I don't know why he keeps on being priced so low, but he continues to be one of the better point per dollar receivers on the slate.
I think they have yards per target in the algo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Catch rate.
Yep. How do you feel about Deontay Johnson, Pat? I guess Davis is looking for ways to get away from it. Are you interested in Deontay?
I don't love it as chalk. I mean, he's been good with Dalton even after last week. He had a 3.8 yards per target, 0.72 yards per route run last week, which is obviously terrible. But with Dalton, 2.15 yards per route run, 7.1 yards per target. He's earned targets all season. 25% first read target rate is elite, like truly elite. 96th percentile among wide receivers this season. 28% targets per route run. Like the offense is built to get Deontay Johnson the ball. So I think he is a good play. I don't love Deontay Johnson chalk, though. I like the Xavier Legette call. I do also wonder if maybe Chuba Hubbard doesn't get like lost, but isn't as chalky as he might have been.
No,
with,
this is
with
exactly
the
what's
Bucky
going to happen. This is exactly what's going to happen.
And the Falcons, they're 26th in EPA allowed per rush, 30th in rushing success rate. Hubbard, first in success rate, 58% success rate according to NFL Next Gen, which is awesome. That's best among all running backs this season. running back 5 in rush yards over expected per game. He's been like legitimately really good and gets a great matchup. So if if the field kind of just doesn't treat this like a really, really strong play because there's other good plays that have opened up, I definitely want to be on Chuba.
Yep, I like that. Anything else on this game? All right. Detroit Lions at Dallas Cowboys. Lions have an applied team total of 27.5. That's the second best of the week. Cowboys 24.5. That's the 8th best of the week. One of the better game environments that we have here. Pat, I'll go to you. Who do you like in this Lions Cowboys game?
I mean, CeeDee Lamb is pretty high upside play here. 8,600 and hasn't been like the mega superstar this season that you'd hope, but the Lions defense is not very good. And you could see him break out in this game pretty easily. The Lions don't double team a ton. Now they have double teamed Mike Evans at a high rate, 38%, which is pretty high, and Metcalf got 44% double coverage rate against the Lions. So it's not like they never do it, but everyone else they face, which includes Cooper Kupp, 15 rounds of Puka Nacua, Chris Godwin, Marvin Harrison, all those guys saw a double coverage rate of 26% or lower. And the reason I'm mentioning this is that CeeDee Lamb has seen a 33% double coverage rate this season, 91st percentile. His open score is in the 19th percentile. Teams have kind of been successfully taking him away a little bit. And so I think that is what the Lions probably try to do. But there's a chance that maybe they're not like overly committed to it, and we see a double coverage rate in the mid-20s or something, and we get CeeDee Lamb just getting open a little bit more often. And even with all this, he has 2.07 yards per route. It's not like he's been bad. But, I think him getting loose a few more times would be enough to where he could absolutely go off in a game where we expect the Lions to come in and run the ball like a lot. The Cowboys are absolutely terrible against the run, dead last in EPA allowed per rush. But they don't have Micah Parsons, and they haven't been that great against the pass. So this could be a game where these teams like unexpectedly push each other, and we actually get the Lions putting up points through the air a little bit, real back and forth game. And in that type of game environment, I think the Cowboys passing game is pretty interesting, led by CeeDee Lamb, obviously.
Yeah, so some of the better point per dollar plays. Dak Prescott looks pretty great. You have Jalen Tolbert came on last week. Davis, how do you feel about the Cowboys?
Love Tolbert. I mean, it does feel like just an insanely good week to do Dak doubles. Like every week, the Cowboys. Yeah. So the Cowboys actually weirdly are negative PROE, but they are 6th highest expected pass rate in the NFL, which just tells me their running game sucks. That like they find themselves in 2nd and 9, 3rd and 9 all the time because they can't generate any rushing yards. Yeah, Dak and no team wants to run against Detroit. Detroit has faced 83 rushing attempts. It's like far and away the lowest in the NFL. Like no one's even close to them. They're like one of the teams that's like our pass defense is so good that you're also not going to run on us. So good luck. Good. You figure it out. I guess Kenneth Walker did run on them. So shout out to Kenneth Walker. But Rico Dowdle, respectfully, Rico Dowdle is not Kenneth Walker. Yeah, I think
was great last week.
Dak, Ferguson, Tolbert, CeeDee, print it. The funny thing is that JMO is like breaking out, is $5,800, but just due to the function of this slate, he's going to be like 2% owned in like the nutted game because of Tolbert and because of the Falcons guys. So I think if you're a real JMO bro, this is your week.
I love that call. I mean, Jameson Williams is really like broken out. Like his stuff, you look at him, it's like he's not just like having a nice rebound. Like he has established himself as the number 2 in the offense, where we thought that was going to be almost impossible. Sam Laporte is locked in. He might be the best tight end in the league. Like that's how we drafted it. And he comes in and, he's got a 20% target share with a 14.2 ADOT, 2.24 yards per route run, which is better than Amon-Ra's been at 1.93 this year. Like, dude has been really good. So Jameson's a fun play for sure. Yeah, I like the Dak stuff I think, Ferguson's going to be real chalky for good reason. But if I'm going Dak, CD, and Ferguson, I don't think we're going to see a lot of Dak doubles this week. So I'm happy. That's that's the way I want to eat the chalk. I want to lean into Dak just going off here. And Jameson, I'm not, bring back's not as important as we thought they were, but Jameson seems like a pretty fun bring back.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely a game we can stack up if we want to. Yeah, I'm with you. These look great. Dak doubles with Ferguson, with Tolbert. I don't know. Would you guys consider a Dak double without CD, just having Tolbert and Ferguson, or is that too far?
I could see it playing out because I could see what if they just double CD and they just take him away and Ferguson and Tolbert get there. Yeah, I could. Yeah, I probably don't play Dak though. I just go like Ferguson and Tolbert and go stack up someone else.
Spencer Rattler.
I could see that.
Spencer Rattler.
I wrote up and thought about deleting, but did not delete Rico Dowdle just because as an MME play, maybe I'll delete it now because we have even more value than we had. But 20 carries last week for Rico Dowdle.
He is going to be like legit 1% owned.
Yeah, maybe they found their running back. I guess as a large field tournament play, maybe still somewhat in play there, but pretty thin with the value that has opened up. Neither of you talking about the Lions running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs on David Montgomery. Is it just at this point, are they just going to get squeezed because of all the better options? I mean, it's a nice matchup with the Cowboys. They've given up 26 in terms of stopping schedule adjusted fantasy points against the run. So it theoretically a run funnel defense, strong offensive line. Is Ragnow back? I guess I haven't seen if Frank Ragnow is back this week. Might affect things a little bit with the Lions running game, but any interest in either of Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yeah.
It's just like classic Montgomery scores 2 touchdowns week, probably.
This week sets up, there's at least 3 games where I could see the game being ruined from, the passing game, the stacking games, ruined by a running back going nuts, right? Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and David Montgomery are all just like, we think that the way to play this slate is to stack this game up, and it actually is one of these running backs. And I think it's a week where I want to be playing these games from both sides. I want to have Dak stacks. I want to have a Montgomery. I want to have a Henry. I will have a Lamar, Zay Flowers, but I also want a Henry because it feels like these 3 games could play out in pretty distinct ways. There's upside in the passing games, especially I think the Commanders, Ravens, and this one. There's 2 kind of pretty clear ways that the game can play out that are not like each other at all. Yeah.
It's an interesting slate because we do have some games that just really stand out. This being one, the Commanders, Ravens. I would also put the Panthers, Falcons in that bucket. Sort of the Packers, Cardinals. I think there are a few game environments
Josh Jacobs
that really just I could see this game going off and multiple ways for it to go off. So it is sort of an interesting slate to just lean into particular games and then just kind of mix and match how you're playing those games, how you see it working out.
But I think I'm more interested in playing this slate in that style than trying to go to some of these games that we're not that interested in. Agreed. Find the running back in the game everyone loves stacking and just bet on the running back to suck up all the value in that game.
So I probably don't go to Justin Fields. Maybe I don't actually end up going to Spencer Rattler because I want to play through all these different games. I don't know. It'll be an interesting slate to play out. Looks like Ragnow is back. I forgot the story of Ragnow punching Dan Campbell to show him that he's back. I don't know if you guys saw that quote from Dan Campbell. Yeah, just somebody attacked me, just getting punched, and apparently
that's super bullish for Ragnow. I think it's the one coach he's punching the coach. It's a full sign. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Anything else you guys want to say? I guess this is an important game, so I just want to give it back to you. Do you guys have any other players you want to touch on here?
No, I think weirdly I probably won't make my way to the running backs, even though I like both of them.
Okay. Just because we have so many good options.
So many good options, yeah.
Yeah. I think the running backs are pretty, especially Montgomery, I think is a pretty strong play. Because he's been good. He does lead the team in attempt share. Not by a huge amount, but he is, still kind of the traditional workhorse there. And I mean, the Cowboys have just been so bad against the run, and the Lions, like, they want to run the ball, like they really do. Like that's their primary mode of attack. Yeah.
Yep. And another game. So our final game is FanDuel only, which I know, Pat, you don't play on FanDuel. I don't typically play much on FanDuel either. But this is another one that actually kind of falls into that bucket of games that we might want to attack also on FanDuel is Bengals at Giants. Bengals have an applied team total of 25.75. That's tied for 6th best of the week. Giants 22.25. That's 15th best of the week. We have I think Devin Singletary, I don't know if he's officially out. Malik Neighbors out for this game for the Giants. So now we have a little bit of value on the Giant side of the game. The Bengals, it sounds like maybe both Chase Brown and Zach Moss will play this week. So that kind of muddles that situation a little bit. I thought we might get a fun value there, but I don't know. How do we feel about this game? Davis, I'll throw it to you. I don't know if you play FanDuel, but anybody you like for the FanDuel site here.
I will say this is a Chase Brown-ass game where
not if Moss goes, right?
No, I think that's the thing is I think they can afford to dick around because it's the Giants. And basically I follow a lot of Bengals guys on Twitter because of this thing that was happening this summer with the Chase Brown thing. And they're all pretty universally aligned. Like, if this team's digging out of its rut, if this team's winning a Super Bowl, it needs the explosive plays from Chase Brown. We can't be doing Zach Moss 3 yards in a cloud of dust, which is not to say that Zach Moss is not a good player. He's not going to 0, whatever. But Chase Brown is not as good of a fit, obviously, in FanDuel scoring, but he's a good play. Tyrone Tracy, the only running back this year in the NFL where every carry is gone for positive yardage. There's your Tyrone Tracy stat.
Yeah,
nice.
And that's a wide receiver playing running back.
That's a wide receiver playing running back. Tyrone Tracy. Yeah.
Well, Singletary might go. That's the only issue there.
Oh, he might. Okay.
Yeah, he's questionable.
He got a limited practice in.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I don't know what he did today. He was limited yesterday.
Yeah, limited again today.
Limited again? Okay.
Yeah. So, we'll see. I even on like I would not be that into like Burrow doubles or whatever. Season's on the line. That doesn't mean what you think it means though. That means they're gonna play tight. They're gonna play super tight. They're not gonna be chucking the ball around the yard.
I was rooting against them so hard. They get that fumble and then they play for a 56-yard field goal. They don't even pass once. They just run it like they're acting like they're on the 15-yard line. I was rooting against McPherson so bad. I wanted exactly what happened to happen. I just wanted them to pay for being so tight. They played that so tight. God.
Yeah, annoying. Why do that? Yep.
Play to win.
Yeah, and I always cheer for kickers, except for in those types of scenarios.
I know.
Or if I'm going to lose some money. Yeah.
I felt bad, but come on. Burrow had been going nuts, and they're acting like they had a rookie back there. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, insane the way that went. I think Burrow to Chase looks pretty good. Chase Brown more interesting if Zach Moss can't go. T. Higgins actually leading the team in target share, 25.9% in the 3 games he has played. So I think borderline playable just because of the target share. Sorry to Davis, sorry to Sam, but I think T. Higgins can play here.
I was all over T. Higgins last week.
That's right.
Yeah, this is the T. Yeah. We both were.
It was T week.
Yeah, that's right. So is this week? Is this a T week or no?
Nah. It's not.
All right.
Because the Giants only have one good corner, and Deontay Banks, I think is his name, and Jamar Chase will cook him.
Yeah. The Giants side, because we have Malik Neighbors out, it's worth noting Darius Slayton only 5,900, which on FanDuel is pretty low.
Substitute Malik Neighbors.
Darius Slayton, you just sub him right in. So if Malik Neighbors,
he literally just did. There's a couple good film breakdowns out there. Like they literally are just like, all right, go be Malik Neighbors.
All right,
they won a game.
11 targets. Yeah.
Pat, which side of that bet did you have? Did you have Hyatt or Slayton?
I had Slayton. The correct side.
Yeah, the correct side. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I might already be done. Hyatt might not pass what Slayton did last week. That's enough.
You know what? Honestly, very good point.
That's it. That's one.
So at 5,900, which is a pretty low price tag on FanDuel, I think Darius Slayton very much in play Wan'Dale Robinson, obviously the FanDuel scoring half PPR, not ideal for Wan'Dale Robinson, but still just elite usage. I don't know. I think borderline. He's playable. At least he's at 6,300. I'd probably play some Wan'Dale
What is
Robinson.
T Higgins on FanDuel?
T Higgins is 7,600.
Okay,
That's crazy, dude.
Pretty expensive. Yeah,
that's pretty expensive. Okay, yeah.
Theo Johnson I wrote up just because he saw 5 targets on 71.8% route participation in week 5. Benefits a little bit, I think, from Malik Neighbors being out. So this game sort of interesting for FanDuel. I think several players in play, but it's FanDuel only. Any other notes on this game, either of you?
No.
Okay. Adrian asks if we think Mixon is going to play. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah,
Sounds like he might be good to
I
go.
think we
Yeah.
do. Yeah, I think he will. I mean, they got to be so desperate to get him out there.
Yeah.
His ankle started feeling really good when he watched Dario Ogunbowale get his most carries in a game ever.
Yeah. Did you see his quote was like, I had the most rushing yards in the league, and then some weak drop tackle, hip drop tackle.
Oh,
Hurt my ankle or something like that. He was complaining about, but sounds like he's good to go this week. All right, that is the final game for us. So now we need to do just a synopsis of some of our favorite plays on the slate. Just kind of break it down high level. Who do we like the best? So let's start with just like favorite stacks. So do we have like I think we have pretty consolidated. There's some stacks that really stand out here.
Lamar and
Who's our favorite?
Flowers.
Lamar and
Love
Flowers.
and Reed. Kyler and McBride. Hurts and Devonta, Hurts and AJ Brown. I think for me.
Dak, CD Ferguson,
Dak and
and
CD
you can throw
Ferguson.
Tolbert in there too.
Yeah. Yep.
I like that. Those are all some of my favorites on the slate. Trying to see if we missed any there that really stand out as.
I mean, I think Daniels and
stacks.
McLaurin will get some love, but that's not one that I would be flag planning. I mean, I think it's totally fine, but I don't know if I'll end up having that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you summarized all of the best plays. I don't think you missed any of them there. What about?
We didn't
Go ahead.
talk about this, but any interest in Goff Amon-Ra? No,
He's the ultimate example of the Stafford rule. He like literally
that's true.
cannot pass 22 points.
Yeah.
And then are you applying that to Kirk Cousins?
No, Kirk. I've grant he doesn't count because Kirk can throw a touchdown to Kadarius Hodge.
That's right. Game-winning touchdown to Kadarius Hodge.
Yeah, that's true.
Favorite really contrarian plays. Let's say sub 5%. I think it's easier if we say sub 10%. And I know it's tough off the top of your head because you got to pull up ownerships here. But do you guys have any super contrarian plays that you think you're going to go to? I'm really putting you on the spot here.
I was going to say there's not really anything that contrarian I like this week. Like at running back, there's nothing. At wide receiver, it's like Leggett, Jameson Williams. Tight end, I got a really bad one for you. Hayden Hurst is $2,600. Jatavian Sanders is $2,500. 5 targets for Jatavian Sanders last week, and we barely talked about tight ends the whole time because this is about as bad as I've ever seen it.
I don't know. This is sub 10, maybe not sub 5,
okay,
but I think does CeeDee Lamb get ownership?
In tournaments, he will, weirdly. So, like, in cash, it's funny. He, like, probably won't be owned. But in tournaments, he will just because he's CeeDee Lamb. And because of the cheap running backs, because you've got Bucky and stuff now. So, and Rattler, too. Like, if you do Rattler and Bucky, play whoever you want.
Okay. And then does Barkley get ownership?
That probably not as much.
Okay. I mean, I like that one. And then I think a true sub 5 would be Antonio Gibson. I think he's a legitimately good play.
Yeah. I think that's a great call out. Yeah. I don't know why I decided to put you guys on the spot with sub 5% instead of sub 10%, which
I like it.
I know Davis has already answered that question, but I always, because I play, Millie Maker type tournaments, I'm always looking for those like really contrarian plays that I think actually have a real shot at going off. Favorite running backs, it sounds like it is. I mean, Antonio Gibson kind of contrarian, but just like if you're just building one lineup, like maybe for cash or interesting tournament plays, sounds like it's Bucky Irving, Tony Pollard.
I still think Pollard is a better play than Bucky. If it goes that way,
Interesting.
you have to make that decision. I got Pollard over Bucky. total pass to Bucky failing.
Yeah.
One of my favorite plays that's not mega contrarian, but it's not going to end up being like super popular is Josh Jacobs.
Yeah,
I
I
like
like that
that.
call. Yep.
Yeah.
Conservative, like overly conservative offense against. I mean, I wish they weren't as conservative as they're being, but they're going against a run funnel Cardinals defense. Team's really attacking them on the ground. So that's I don't see him getting like much more than like 15.
And we talked about like the different game environments, that being one that, you know, we like the quarterback. We like going to Jordan Love, but like you can play it multiple different ways. If you're playing, obviously, if you're only playing one lineup, you're probably not playing both. But if you're playing 10 lineups, you could play it multiple different ways. Like there are 4 or 5 different great games for just like, all right, mix and match. How do I want to play this game? Because somebody's going to be scoring fantasy points in a lot of these games. So that's definitely a spot that, yeah, go to Josh Jacobs as leverage on all of his teammates that we all kind of like. I like that call out. Any other overarching thoughts on this slate before we call it?
I guess
check the news Sunday morning.
That's right.
If you're using, I'm probably going to do stuff like where I project some of these. I fiddle with the projections on some of these games, like the Ravens Commanders games. The outcomes of like the style of offense that we could see from the Ravens could be so dramatically different. Like I could see them getting pushed and leaning into it and like have a 65% pass rate, or I could see them controlling the game with a 30% pass rate. So I think I'm going to do stuff where I like fiddle with the projections on that game, and I pick one of the ways that it's going to go and kind of build lineups with that in living in that world, and then project it the other way and live with create lineups when I'm living in that universe. And there's, like I said, I think there's a couple of those games, the Lions and Cowboys game being the other one that really jumps out as one that, we could see very run heavy on the Lions side, or them actually being in kind of a back and forth game. And so, yeah, I think I'm probably going to like adjust some of the projections a little bit more than I normally do, just to reflect the binary nature of a couple of these games.
I like that. I like that idea a lot, Pat.
I do too. Yeah, I do a lot of that kind of fiddling with the projections to try and play things a lot of different ways. So definitely like that approach. Also, Adrian, yes, it is okay to have Wan'Dale and Slayton. Hopefully you don't have them in like a season-long team. You're not relying on Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton. I don't know why I decided to answer just that one question.
Good matchup, though.
Yeah, it is a great matchup. I've been like ignoring these season-long questions the entire stream, but just at the end, I was just like, yeah, got to answer this one. All right. I think that is going to do it for us. This has been DFS MVP week 6. Thank you, Davis. You can find Davis on Twitter at DavisMatt. Oh, sorry. I need to ask you guys, what do you have coming up so people can find your stuff the rest of the weekend? Davis, what do you have coming up? Where can people find your stuff?
Just check out my YouTube channel. All the videos this week will be live. Got a bunch of stuff there. DFS, Pick'ems, Best Ball, all the good stuff. And I'll be live on Sunday morning as well.
All right. Go check that out. And then Pat, how about you?
LegendaryUpside.com. Got the walkthrough up right now, and the Ravens Commanders game completely free, and the London game also above the paywall there, so you can check that out. Also going to have Matt Irby's Quick Slant on the Sunday and Monday night games coming out soon here. We got rest of season rankings, weekly rankings updated up until kickoff. So yeah, check it out, LegendaryUpside.com.
Very nice.
I also narrate the walkthrough, by the way.
Ooh,
it's a long article. I did break into an English accent for about 2 seconds for the London game at this.
Very nice. Love it.
I called Shane Waldron a wanker.
Perfect. He is too. So that's fitting. Yeah. At Pat Carrain, at Davis Maddock. I'm at PlayerQDFS on Twitter. I will be, of course, my tournament strategy is out already. Game by game breakdown at 4for4. You'll be able to find my cash game article on 4for4 as well. But that is going to do it for the week 6 DFS MVP podcast. Thank you to Davis and Pat. Thank you to all of you for listening, and we will be back next Friday for week 7. See you then.